Today's subject, how to be happy in the worst of times. Hey, it's Gary, and I've got one of my cockatoos. This is Winnie. So I want to share with you some strategies and things that I have done to manage my emotional state and happiness in the worst of times. By the way, if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. If you would do me a favor and subscribe, I'd certainly appreciate it. You may have heard, if you have seen some of my videos before, that we were hacked, so we're trying to rebuild everything back up. So here we are. Also, love to see your comments below, as I do try to personally respond to them as much as possible. So let's talk about this idea of trying to be happy in the worst of times. I remember this was some years ago. This was after I had left the cult I was in. So when I leave this particular cult, the consequences are huge. You lose all your so-called friends and family. They'll have nothing to do with you. I mean, they're programmed to treat you as if you're dead, shun you for life, etc. So now, at that point, I was $350,000 in debt. Emotionally, it was so difficult for me to even move ahead. Talk about not letting things rent space in your head. That's the title of my book. And I fought very, 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 very hard not to let a lot of that rent space in my head. And it was the most challenging thing I've ever been through. With that being said, I noticed that I wasn't making any financial progress. And I am going to take this, it's a very important text, so bear with me. Shooting video right now. Okay, so after that, forgive me for that. I'd rather that than stop and start over for you. So $350,000 in debt. And then now I realize that I'm financially in the worst position I've ever been in my life. And I'm trying to think, okay, how in the world am I going to get out of this? I came very close to bankruptcy. I thought about it and I said to myself, I really have and had too much pride to go bankrupt. That would just be, that was a tough one. And I know other people do that, and they may have their reasons as well, but whatever. So I said to my team, I am going to take everything that I have in my house, I'm going to put it in storage, and I'm going to go out on the road, and I'm going to sell my products and my programs till I pay it all off. And it took me, I thought I would do it in a year or so. I could have done it faster. But anyway, 3 years and 3 months, I lived in hotels virtually every single day. I would wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I have teams all over the world, so I have them in different time zones. So I'd be able to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I would meet a team member, meet with them, then go out and do my presentations. I did over 600, I believe, presentations, 200 a year during those 3 years and 3 months. And I remember, and I'll never forget this, I think I was in Nashville and I was walking out of a business, and I don't believe I did well. I'm gonna guess I sold nothing. And I'm walking in this parking lot. And as I'm walking this parking lot, I see this big dumpster, and I was not happy. And I said to myself, Gary, if you could figure out how to be happy in these worst of times, imagine what it's going to be like when you get over this, if you don't give up. So how did I do that? And I thought about that because pretty much those 3 years, all that time, that debt of $350,000, I would go like 2 months straight without a hug from another human being. That is not mentally or emotionally healthy at all. And I said to myself, okay, how am I going to do this? So a couple things. And this didn't work many times. You've got to be grateful. And I'm thinking, okay, let me count the things I'm grateful for. But that just didn't do it. And the reason it didn't do it, I was not in the frame of mind at that moment. Have you ever tried that sometimes? You've been told, you probably hear it from me, you hear it from other people. Count your blessings, all right? So what I would do is I'd go through, okay, well, I got this, I got this, I got this, and I didn't feel a difference. I felt very depressed. I felt, very unhappy. I'm still living on the road. I'm not touching another human being. All these things. So I figured, okay, let's look at it differently. So I'm looking for different ways to perceive this. Now, some people call it reframing. Reframing is great. It's changing your story, but remember, people say change your story, change your life. It's not 100% true. It's change your story, believe your story, change your life. If you change your story and don't believe it, you can change it all day long. It will do nothing for you. Just as much as if I say to you, I can't, and you come back to me and say, Gary, say you can, you can, you can. So now I come back to you and I say, I can. But if I still believe I can't, I still can't. So one of the things I thought about is, okay, Gary, let's try to look at it this way. Imagine being in a marathon race, and in your marathon race, you're wearing 1 pound, 5 pound weights on your ankles. And you're running, and you have a purpose for those weights on your ankles. See, the challenge when you're $350,000 in debt, living in hotel rooms for years, you don't know, you hope, you believe, hopefully long enough that your purpose is you're going to get out of this and change your life. But sometimes you question it. That's where the challenge comes in. So I would say to myself things like, I'm looking for things to make up. I'm making things up that might stick, that might change my story, where I can buy into my story and believe my story. So one of the things I would think about is, okay, Gary, think about this as imagine what you're going to be like when you get off of this, how happy you're going to be, how much happier if you can figure it out now. So I would look for the things that I did to reward the negative behavior, and I would change that. So what might be some of the things that you're doing on a regular basis to put yourself in the frame of mind of unhappiness? Are you wanting a pity party? And trust me, there were times I felt that way, and I'm just beyond honest with you on this. I mean, 3.5 years of this, I've just lost all my so-called friends and family. It was rough. So the other thing I would think about is say, this would be a great story one day. And look at me here. Years later, I'm telling you this story. And I would tell myself this years ago while I'm in that parking lot, looking at that dumpster, and I'm thinking, one day I'm going to share this story. One day I'm going to share this story. So I want you to be thinking about the one day that you can share this story, that some person, one person, maybe one person, and that person from my story to you could be you, maybe one person will hear that story and make a difference in their life. So that was one of the things that I did. The other thing that I would do is I would write my goals down. And sometimes it was very difficult because as I would write my goals down, especially the ones I want to obviously attain in the future, that's what you put your goals down for, something you want to do or accomplish tomorrow, next month, next year. I would write them down. There were times I did not believe it was possible. There were other times when I felt excited, I would believe it's possible. So why is it one day I felt my goals were possible, I felt really high and excited, another day I didn't? I will share that with you in future videos, but just real quickly in a nutshell, there were certain things that would happen to me that my value and belief would increase, and I have to learn to be aware of it. You do too. So I've learned to be I'm very, very aware of every emotion or thought that I have that causes my value and belief system to increase, which in turn makes me feel more excited and happier. And then I'm also aware when it decreases. The reason you want to be aware also when it decreases so you can stop it. This way you have more emotional control. So when you finish listening to this video, I want you to be thinking about your day-to-day routine. When you get excited about something, do you know specifically the moment it happened? And then if you do, what were the thoughts that you bought into that caused you to have that excitement? And then on the other hand, when you get a little discouraged and bummed out, do you know specifically when it's happening?